Join us as a storm is approaching in Carson City. We'll see if it's the storm of action.
Good Day Las Vegas.
6 o'clock, it's Thursday morning. It's Good Day Las Vegas. It's Heather Mills.
Yes, and John Langler.
That's me, hi. Later this morning, state lawmakers will resume discussions about the Oakland A's and their request for $380 million in tax breaks.
Good morning. Wait, no. Good evening from Toshiba Plaza here. We're getting ready for Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final.
Yeah, that's pretty normal for the Stanley Cup. The Stanley Cup has quite the history, as we know. Lauren Negretti is live outside Caesars Palace, where the team was partying through the night.
Yeah, Toshiba Plaza, look at this. I mean, we're telling people what to do and how to be prepared to come down here. I'm telling you, everybody's already here.
It's all but done. The Oakland A's look like they're moving to Las Vegas. Yeah, certainly it is a rush, Brian, here in the legislative session. It's pretty quiet here, actually, because both the Assembly behind me and the Senate down there are in recess. They're in committees right now. They're trying to sort things out because so much has been happening today. In the legislative building, you can find the time nearly everywhere you look. Clocks hang from the wall. One greets visitors outside.
10 hours and 53 minutes.
So everyone here in Carson City is aware that time is running out.
There is a lot of work left to do in these last 10, 11 hours.
One way or another, the legislative session ends at midnight.
I wouldn't quite say that it's the right way.
There is no doubt it's a scramble. Republican Governor Joe Lombardo has threatened to veto any budget without his priorities included. That's billions of your dollars up in the air while lawmakers search for compromise.
I'm not optimistic that we're going to have a budget completed by today.
Not everyone is as pessimistic.
I think we can do it if we buckle down and pay attention, review things, and work cooperatively. I believe we can get it done.
When you only got 120 days to get all of the state's business done, this type of quickness at the end is inevitable.
But what about the two big ticket items? $380 million in tax breaks for an A's baseball stadium on the Strip. About $4 billion in incentives to build a pair of movie studios in Las Vegas. There's kind of an assumption I've heard from other folks I've talked to in the building today that the budget would get done today, but late, but that the big items that might need a special session. How does that resonate with you?
Can I just say yes?
Even as the legislature heads to the finish line, which again is in less than an hour, the governor can still veto the laws after that for about 10 days. So even if the work here is done, it doesn't mean the work at the governor's office is done or that there might be coming back for a special session. It all happened right here in the Senate chambers. The conclusion of the hectic final days of the legislative session became clear when the minority leader here in the Senate, she rejected the last big budget bill. The room was packed at the time. Lobbyists, journalists, spectators, they gathered to see if the Senate could do what the Assembly had pretty much done, finish their business. Through the day, there were signs of compromise, some signs also of distance between the Democratic-led legislature and the Republicans, both here in the legislature and next door in the governor's office. By the end, it was the capital improvements planning measure, the last big budget item, millions of dollars, billions even. Senator Heidi Seavers-Gansert said Republicans could not support it, making a special session inevitable.
So here we are again, 11:26 at night.
Republican and Democratic sources say the session will likely happen this week. And again, the key item is the budget. So that brings up the other two main issues we've talked about. Legislation to approve the A's stadium, that financing bill that could also come up in this special session. However, the $4 billion film studio tax incentive measure, that is likely dead.
You're watching Politics Now with John Langler on 8 News Now.
Thank you for joining us. We start with the legislative session, which is over now in Carson City. But before we discuss the conclusion of 120 days of work, a special session is still happening. Heather, we were just talking in the break about hockey and this and that. And I like going for the game and this, and just seeing everything on the ice. Heather said?
I like watching the game as well.
Heather said, I go for the beer and the fights. Go Knights, go. Yeah, Lauren Negretti is actually live out in Summerlin at City National Arena. There's an all-female Golden Knights fan group we're going to profile. But first, we're talking flamingos with Candace Charles live inside T-Mobile and a winning tradition. Candace, good morning to you.
We saw Steve Aoki. We saw the fighter jets fly overhead. Game starts at 5 o'clock. I'll go over to Chris Matthews, who is not being bothered by the Blue Man Group. He's live with a look at the game as well. Chris.
The sound of elation, the sound of success, the sound as an amazing season ends with a Stanley Cup championship. Quite a game last night at T-Mobile Arena. It was not very close. It was a blowout. It ended up being basically a 3-hour party for everybody.
Okay with that, though.
All good.
And the party's already started. They've been going here for hours now, all the way through the casinos, all along through the park area by New York, Park MGM. People have been ready to see that Stanley Cup make its way down Las Vegas Boulevard and come right here. Most of these people are Golden Knights fans, you can tell, but not everybody. I'm joined here by Tom. Tom lives in Florida. He came here for the soccer game at Allegiant Stadium, and now what'd you get yourself into?
I got myself right into a beautiful hockey scenario.
Our photographer was on the bus with William Karlsson, Jonathan Marchessault, so he just got back, which means the cup is not long for being on stage, and he brought back this souvenir. This is from Jonathan Marchessault, William Karlsson. It's already open. It smells like victory, Ron.
This fire broke out about 4:30 yesterday afternoon at an apartment building under construction, and it's really burned ever since near Buffalo and 215. We have team coverage this morning. Sherry's looking at the weather and how the winds played a factor in the fire. But first, Lauren Negretti live at the scene with the latest. Lauren. Later this morning, former President Donald Trump will be arraigned in a Miami federal courtroom. He faces felony charges connected to mishandling, allegedly, classified materials after his time in office. And family members of a flight instructor killed in a midair collision at North Las Vegas Airport last year are taking the tragedy to court. What do you think? Jennifer Lopez is Indiana Jones?
Well, you know what? I haven't seen it, but she does have a action movie on Netflix right now.
Yes.
So it didn't come out of left field, I suppose.
It's called Nebraska Smith.